I have been asked, where do you get your material for making heaven real?
What if I told you that there's more to it? That there are benefits and resources from heaven that are available to help you in this life, and you've never heard about them? Are you curious? Well, join Gordon Merrill as he digs deeper into making heaven real in this life.
Welcome back to Making Heaven Real. So, the question at the beginning of the episode, where do you get your material? Does the title not give you a clue? No, all joking aside. Way back in the Genesis episode, we reviewed how I was told, walking and talking and praying to heaven and asking for all kinds of help, I was told we need to tell them. And it was a definite we, not me. People have asked me, do you have a roadmap of upcoming topics? And if so, what do you plan on teaching or talking about in the next month or two? The short answer is no. I don't have a roadmap. I don't know from week to week what the topic's going to be. I think it's kind of interesting when you go back and look at it, how they seem to all fit together, and one builds on the next, which builds on the next, and after a while, the last two or three all come together in an episode that kind of culminates with a point around the previous episodes. But that's not me. In fact, this particular week, I've started on and been given 3 different topics. This one being the third one. Because for whatever reason, I don't know, heaven just decided that, let's don't do either of the other two, and let's go in this direction instead. One of the other questions is, do I have a certain set of resources I go to and use that for research? And again, the answer is no. My topic comes to me from spirit direction. The main points come to me from spirit direction. And quite honestly, even as I'm in the middle of recording each episode, it's obvious that Spirit's directing that, or moving me to a different point and having me skip a point. And when I go back and listen to it, it's just captivating to me and how things have changed from what I put on a couple bullet points to remind me to discuss certain things, and how that turned into something completely different for the final product. Now, I know what I've been telling you just now at the beginning of this episode are not popular answers at all. But don't forget, in our Genesis episode, we laid out some hard and fast rules for this podcast. First one was never talk about politics. Second was to never discuss denominations and religions specifically. Those two are kind of obvious because those are man-made institutions and man-made items and not referred to in Scripture. And yes, I had somebody come back and tell me that, well, religion or politics is mentioned in Scripture when it says render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. But yes, you don't see any arguments about politics or any discussions about political parties or any of that. But then there were 2 more. And the first one of those was never discuss anything that tries to limit God. When you stop and think about that, who are we as humans to even think we have the ability to control or limit or restrain God in any way? Except using our free will to deny what he has for us. And the last one was to never cross God's line for blasphemy. It is interesting to me how much religious speak comes so dangerously close to crossing that line. Stop and think about that sometime. But those are our 4 hard and fast rules for this podcast. We never limit God, we never cross the line about blasphemy, and we don't talk about politics or denominations or religions. I have to tell you, in the short time that we've been running this podcast, I've been getting some very interesting feedback. For me to give you the details of how Spirit Team is available to us and how Spirit Team talks to us and guides us through the day. And even if you're open to it, just puts pieces and parts of things that you have to do, just regular tasks, nothing heavenly or nothing spiritual, but the tasks you have to accomplish for that day are so intricately woven together to be done expeditiously, timely, with little to no delay, and no problems. But yes, those answers are not popular. Those answers have feedback for different reasons. I've had people tell me that for me to make those kind of statements, those statements are not of God. God in heaven does not speak to humans. Well, if you stick to that particular statement, you've got some problems with a lot of the things that you see in Scripture. We have cases in Scripture where God in heaven spoke directly to people like Samuel and Paul and Moses and Abraham and Nahum and other people specifically called out by God in the Bible. I also had somebody tell me that mediums are from the dark side. We also touched on that briefly in one of the previous episodes, where a medium who is legit does nothing but take messages from heaven and bring them to humans for their betterment. That sounds exactly like how the Bible described a prophet. Prophets were God's people who were brought into the arena basically just to bring messages from heaven to warn God's people, to warn the children of Israel. So what's the difference? Would it be better if we started calling mediums prophets? I think there's a lot of terminology here that's a concern, and I think there's a lot of previous preconceptions that cause issues when people come to a spiritual topic and back off. I remember not too long ago hearing a pastor on YouTube who said, "What I found in church is that the real danger we face is how quickly Jesus begins to look like us instead of us looking like him." When we're around people who look like us, think like us, believe like us, it's not long before we start to read the Bible and start to project our image upon Jesus and heaven in order for us to be able to justify the way we look, think, and act. I think that's rather interesting, especially in this particular topic. Fits very well, even though I'm sure Pastor John had no intention of that when he brought that subject up a month ago. But we bring our own preconceived ideas, our own notions to the study of Scripture, to where we're looking for it to justify what we want as opposed to what it says. In the business world, it's said that you can make numbers say anything you want it to. And you can spin statistics in a certain way that you can prove any point you want to prove. This isn't specifically statistics, but is that where we've gone with this kind of topic? We have preconceived notions, preconceived ideas that we were told somewhere along the line that tells us what can and cannot be done by God or heaven. Probably isn't scriptural. Because what we've been talking about up until now, we've shown how this is discussed and talked about and treated in Scripture. I ran into a situation just this week where I was talking to a pastor. And he was talking about how when people come to him in his office for counseling, especially through loss and grief, I mean, he had to agree with me right off the bat that for the most part, society has no idea how to deal with grief. By and large, 99, some kind of high 90s percentage of people in this country have never been around it. They've never experienced it. They've never been taught anything about it. They've never witnessed anybody helping somebody else in grief. Which kind of takes us back to our grief toolkit. If you just follow those 3 things and try and help somebody in grief, you are already light years ahead of anybody else. Just because it's never been talked about, never been discussed, never been taught, in a lot of cases never been experienced. So in my case, one of the first questions I came up with is, why did it take me till, 60 plus before I was able to ever come across any of these things or learn these things? And those same spirits quickly reminded me, well, go back and look at your own previous episodes, because we have discussed there are no coincidences. Everything that happens in your life is a part of our plan. Ours and yours. And basically you weren't supposed to know this yet, according to the plan. But now you do. So what are you going to do with the knowledge? You can't just walk away and say, well, I don't know. Not anymore. And since you do know, now you have a decision to make. Do you take the knowledge that you're hearing and the ideas that you're hearing now and the thoughts and scriptures that we've discussed and apply that to your life and give it a chance to have heaven prove itself to you? Or do you just use your free will decision to shut it down? Just like we talked about earlier, God will never force anything on you. As a result, heaven will never force anything on you. Your spirit team that's standing by, ready and waiting to do everything to help you, will never force anything on you against your will. So all the heavenly equity we've been talking about, all the support from your spirit team we've been talking about, all the spirit team redirection and go around we've been talking about, it's all there for you. But only if you allow it. I think you'll remember some of the previous episodes we've talked about things that you may have been taught early on, or even, to use a weird term, somewhat indoctrinated with as you were growing up. But we've talked about those things and how they may not any longer serve you. They may not be as accurate as you thought they were. They may not meet your need like you thought they did. So, do you choose those teachings from early on over heavenly revelations? Do you choose indecision over spiritual direction? Do you choose frustration over divine purpose? Do you choose loss over unconditional love? Emptiness over spiritual fulfillment? Grief over peace and comfort? Need over heavenly equity? The choice is yours. Heaven awaits. Will you make heaven real in your life?
We hope you learned something new about God's love and His resources during our time together. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. You can find our social media links and our contact info in the show notes. When you're commenting, please reference the episode number. Join us next time as we again search out the ways of making heaven real in this life with Gordon Merrill.